3.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, July 25th, 2024, and the time is 5:30. This meeting is now called to order. Will the chair of, or the clerk of the board, I already promoted you to chair of the board. No attendance for a quorum? No. Okay, thank you. So I do believe that Director Holmstrom is out, and so is Director Davidson. And we'll move on to our safety moment. General Manager Pollock.
Great, thank you. So in recognition of the vast number of wildfires occurring in Oregon, I thought I'd focus my safety message on fire extinguishers. In all transparency, I stole this safety moment from our ELT meeting yesterday, so thank you, Hayel. So fire extinguishers, just as there is a right tool for every job, there's a right extinguisher for every fire. The class of an extinguisher identified on its nameplate corresponds to the class or classes of the fire the extinguisher controls. Consequently, the best extinguisher to have on the job is a multi-purpose class ABC extinguisher, which contains a dry powdered chemical under pressure. The following describes the classes of fire and the kind of extinguisher that can be used on each. So Class A fires are wood, paper, trash, and other materials that have glowing embers when they burn. Always remember that a Class A extinguisher contains water and should only be used on Class A fires. If they're used on gasoline, it can spread the fire, and if used on electric fires, it can cause you to be electrocuted. Class B fires are those fires involving flammable liquids and gases, such things as gasoline, solvents, paint thinners, grease, and acetylene. And Class C fires are the fires energized electrical equipment. So some important points to remember. Use the fire extinguisher whose class corresponds to the class of the fire. Know where the extinguishers are located in your home and how to use them. Follow the directions printed on the label. I would suggest you familiarize yourself before you need to use one. Keep the area around the fire extinguisher clear for easy access. Don't hide the extinguisher by hanging coats, ropes, or other materials on it. Never remove the tag from the extinguisher. This indicates the last time the extinguisher was serviced and or inspected. Report and or replace defective extinguishers. Here at work, that usually means reporting them to your supervisor or a safety person. Inspect the fire extinguisher every 4 to 6 weeks. When inspecting, look for cracked hoses, plugged nozzles, damage, and corrosion. Make sure the indicator arrow is always in green. And if you look at your little dial, there's a little indicator there that says full. And shake and mix the fire extinguisher during inspection, because naturally the ingredients naturally filter and separate. So if you mix it up when you're in a hurry and you need it, it'll be ready to go. Nobody wants a fire, but if one starts, know what extinguishers to use and how to use them, and make sure to use the PASS method, P-A-S-S. P for pull the pin to unlock the fire extinguisher. A to aim at the base of the fire while standing 6 to 10 feet away. S for squeeze the lever to discharge the spray. And the second S to sweep the spray back and forth, left to right until the flames are gone. And don't forget to ask someone for help, to either call 911 or if you need to, do it yourself, if that makes sense. And that concludes my safety moment.
Thank you very much, General Manager Pollock. Okay, that moves us on to announcements and changes to the agenda. We do have to pull item 3A for the TransDash FY 2024 report. I know that we were all looking forward to that, but hopefully everything is all right with everyone. And that'll move us on to public comment. So I do believe that we have a couple of people signed up for public comment. So we can go ahead and get started with Nick Forty.
Thank you. My name is Nick Forty. I reside in West Salem and the Transportation Chair for the West Salem Neighbors Association. I would like to offer my comments on the July 11th work session on Service Enhancements Subcommittee updates. While we recognize the enhancements will be subject to further discussion, we want to offer some suggestions now to help shape the outcomes. First, while we appreciate the complexities of developing a bus rapid transit system, we see the pending revision of the Salem Transportation System Plan as an opportunity to introduce BRT. A conceptual study could include assessing local plans and considering land use and travel patterns now and in the future. We think there is a role for limited stop and high-frequency service in the region. While the in-street running has options, laying the groundwork now instead of waiting several years will help advance this promising option. We would also support a more robust approach to micromobility options for first and last mile connections which support transit. In the current construct, we are concerned that too much effort and responsibility falls to Cherriots. There are important land use code modifications, infrastructure improvements, and signal operation options which could have a measurable impact on supporting other active transportation modes, yet those are the purview of other regional partners. While transit support is obviously important, there is broad value in supporting other active travel modes, even if they are unlinked to transit. We want to ensure there is a robust assessment of the needs, impediments, and possibilities for micromobility and active transportation to create a complete, engaged, inclusive transportation system we want to see for the region. We also support a revision of bus stop and shelter standards. Shelters are expensive and demands for their installation are high. To maximize rider benefit, we recommend expanding installation criteria to include grocery stores and to use person minutes of waiting to prioritize shelter installation. At the other end, we would support the development of more amenities at bus stops, including physical bus route schedules and QR codes at stops, and expanding the use of folding seats at stops to benefit waiting passengers. Finally, for all stop locations, we would encourage working with regional partners to evaluate land use codes and development policies to encourage the placement of street trees, both on the public right-of-way and to incentivize local property owners to provide street trees. Shade matters for waiting passengers. Thank you for the opportunity to testify and for considering our suggestions.
Thank you very much. All right, and our next public comment, I do believe, is Tyler McCulley.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
Today is the first time my bike has been actually ridden around town this year. Well, I mean, at least since February when my handlebar broke. And I also upgraded to a 360-degree action cam. So there will be no mistaking who's wrong if I get hit. And it's not if, it's when. You guys do an excellent job of paying attention to where I am, and I'm at 95% of the time very aware of where you guys are. Coming down here, I have an air horn on that. The entire air tank was used between Locust and Shipping, because that's how many people are trying to pass me in a double yellow line, or whereas otherwise hazards that are just with no bike lane. Afterward, whoever, I don't remember whose Highland Neighborhood Association, but I'd like to speak with them regarding the great bike lane starting at Locust or the Salem Parkway, but it needs to go all the way down to at least Liberty. Or that section in front of the school of Highland Elementary is also a park. That should be 20 miles an hour, 24/7. No passing, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just too dangerous. I mean, I passed or bunny hopped with both the 9 and the 19 right along there. Great spacing, but if the bus isn't nearby, the other drivers don't care. They will use that center turn lane as a passing lane, or whatever. I don't know why they can't treat me like I'm 8 to 10 feet wide like a normal vehicle. Give me some space. Don't startle me. But otherwise, great improvements. Since the last time I was here, the last time I rode the 1X was the first time the fare had been reduced to match the in-town buses. That's a godsend. As far as just not, because I actually had $1.50, a dollar bill and 2 quarters, and the driver was like, no, that's good. And I was like, what? So you guys are doing great. I think there's room for improvement, But I think 99% of that improvement is the drivers, outside this building. Anyway, I hope you guys are staying cool, and thanks.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment? Or was that everyone? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So that concludes our public comment, and we'll move on to item 5, our consent calendar. Does any board member wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion, or General Manager Pollock, is there any item you wish to review?
No.
If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second. Okay, motion by Director Carney, seconded by Director Navarro. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Seeing no opposed, the motion passes unanimously with those present. Okay, and now we'll move on to item 7, action items. Item A, award of contract for tire purchase. General Manager Pollock.
Thank you. Tom Dietz, our Chief Operations Officer, will present the staff report, and he is attending virtually.
Good evening, President Prissy, members of the board. Just want to make sure, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you for allowing me to come before you tonight. So as General Manager Pollock stated, I come before you tonight to present the staff memo to ask the board to authorize the General Manager to enter into a contract with CTW Inc., or they do business as Cascade Tire Pros, for an amount not to exceed $1,175,137 over a 5-year period. So it was just a few short years ago, we came before you, and we transitioned from a tire lease program to purchasing our tires as a district. So as we go through that contract has ended, or will be ending shortly. And so we issued an invitation to bid, or an ITB. We received 4 bids in that solicitation. All proposers were determined to be responsive per FTA guidelines, and we made the selection based on the criteria in the ITB and awarded the contract, the successful bidder was Cascade Tire Pros. And the financial impact, it is in the approved fiscal 2024-2025 operating budget, and is comprised of several revenue sources ranging from federal 5307 and 5310, as well as general funds. And the out years of the contract will be positioned in the appropriate fiscal year budgets, and the table is in your packet. So the staff recommends that the board authorize the general manager to enter into a contract with CTW, Cascade Tire Pros, for an amount not to exceed $1,175,137 over a 5-year period. And I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Director Carney?
Thank you, President Uno-Host Pressy. Did you say we are shifting from a tire lease program to something different? Or is this also tire leasing?
No, this is a purchase program. We transitioned previously a few years ago from a lease program to a purchase. This is just a new contract.
Okay. And what are the pros and cons? How does one make a decision between whether or not to, I don't lease my tires, so I don't know, between a tire lease and a tire purchase program?
Thank you for that question, Director Carney. Yes, so a lot of that decision is based on how large your fleet is and how many tires you use. What we were finding is that we were replacing tires on a normal schedule, but then we had tires that we still I'm going to use this term loosely, still owed on when they were out of specification, so unsafe to run on a bus. So it's just more economical for us to purchase the tires than lease them.
Gotcha. And what are tire-related services that are included in this contract?
So valve stems, tire weights, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Director Navarro?
Thank you, President Hinojosa Presi. So a couple questions. One is, because we are leasing the tires, does that mean that we're now going to be consuming the cost of recycling the tires? Because Oregon does have a fee associated with that.
Yeah, just to be clear, we're purchasing the tires, so we're no longer leasing them. And yes, through this company, they take care of the recycling for us.
So even after the tires outlive their or their use here, then the Tire Pros is going to be picking those up, and there's no additional charge associated with that?
It's included in their cost in our contract.
Okay, awesome. And then I wonder if, and this is just an idea, if we've looked into methods of being more environmentally friendly when we're talking about tires. I know that right now here in Oregon, retreading is illegal, so you can't retread your tires. There is not a whole lot of options for what happens to the tires here in Oregon after we utilize them. There's some states that recycle them, they turn them into playgrounds, they use other materials out of them, but it's really hard to distill the chemicals that are inside tires, and this is probably more information than anybody wants to hear. But I'm just curious if there's ever been a opportunity for us to look into being more environmentally friendly when we're purchasing and disposing of tires.
So thank you, Director Navarro. I honestly don't have an answer to that question, but I know that we can certainly engage with our sustainability committee and get back to you on that.
Awesome, thank you, appreciate it.
You bet.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. I feel like I had all my questions answered from, I had similar thoughts as Director Carney. So I appreciate that. Okay, would anyone like to move for approving action item A or 7A?
I move that the board authorize the general manager to enter into a contract with CTW Inc., doing business as the Cascade Tire Pros, for an amount not to exceed $1,175,137 over a 5-year period.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Thank you. So we've got motion by Director Navarro, second by Director Duncan. Any discussion on the matter? Not. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Seeing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so that moves us on to item 7B, accept the preliminary FY 2024 financial report. General Manager Pollock.
Next, I'll ask our Chief Financial Officer, LaRue, to please come forward and present the report.
Good evening, President Hinojosa Presi and members of the board. Tonight, I'm here to present the preliminary year financials for fiscal year 2024 as required by ORS 267.140-5. You will find the memo with the summary financial statements on page 32 through 35 of your packet, and we will review the slides on page 36 and 37. In the audits of general health and transparency, there has been no activity in the last quarter of the fiscal year. The activity is just now ramping up again. In the sections regarding development of written policies, I'm showing the fourth quarter as being unfavorable. When we developed the strategic initiatives in FY25, we moved all of the written policies to FY25 from FY24, so we did not complete that in '24. Under the general fund financial performance, the FY24 operating revenues are at 114% of the fiscal year budget. A couple of notable items regarding that are that at the beginning of fiscal year '24, we had received a disbursement of unplanned STIF reserves that were shared between Salem Area Mass Transit District and the subrecipients. And then we also had ARPA funding that we had anticipated utilizing all of the funding in FY23. We didn't have quite enough expenses, so we were able to roll that over and use that in FY24. So those funds have been used now. For FY24, the operating expenses are below budget for all divisions, with general administration being the closest to budget at 97%, which are mostly fixed costs for courthouse square costs, liability insurance, those types of things. For Transportation Programs Fund financial performance, the revenues as well as the expenses were at 83% of budget. For the Capital Fund financial performance, we ended the year with revenues being at 47% and expenses at 52%. The expenses are higher than the revenues because there's always the match portion, and we had excess reserve from prior years from projects that rolled over from prior years for the match. And so therefore, instead of transferring more revenue from general fund, we utilized that was already in the capital fund. This was also reflected in the FY24 forecast and presented in the FY25 budget. This year's expenses consisted of battery electric buses and infrastructure, transit signal priority work, the ITS project, bus stop improvements, technology equipment, and South Salem Transit Center. Lots of progress in many areas. And regarding the strategic initiatives, we spent a total of $12 million on battery electric buses and infrastructure, $18,000 on the community value survey, $20,000 on the customer satisfaction survey, $182,000 on the completed e-fare implementation project, $649,000 through FY24 on the intelligent transportation system, $125,000 for the additional facilities maintenance staff that we had hired to provide clean and safe passenger amenities. And to date, we have recorded $5,000 for the employee engagement survey. We'll have another accrual for that before we actually have final numbers for FY24. May I answer any questions?
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from board members? Director Duncan?
Yeah, I just have one. I know that we've talked about this a little bit, but just like for the sake of covering it while we're here, because we do have a couple of unfavorable trends, I just was hoping someone could talk to it a little bit more and what the plan is to fix that going forward. Just make sure we've got all that on the record.
Absolutely. Those are part of our new strategic tactics for FY25. When we went through the planning process in February, we moved all of those into FY25.
So we have a fix on the books, we're good with it, and in the meantime, it's gonna, like, nobody needs to be panicking?
Absolutely not.
Great. Just want to make sure we have all that out there for anybody who sees that. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question, and it's mainly just to help break down a little bit of like the numbers that we're seeing. So on the second slide that was shown, I guess in the board meeting packet, page 37. So where it says year-to-date operating revenues budget and year-to-date expenditure budget, since it's broken out by quarter and we see like 8% revenues of budget in quarter one and then 23% of expenditures of budget, could you maybe talk a little bit about how that's broken up in this graph, just so, because like if someone just adds those straight across, it's like over 100% on the expenditures.
Absolutely. The first quarter is for the first 3 months, and so it's 1/4 of the budget of the annual budget, and it's for the actual expenditures and revenues in those 3 months. Through second quarter, it is year to date through second quarter, so you would expect expenditures to not be over 50% of the annual budget, and the revenues, again, it's the 6 months worth. So it adds on each time. So quarter 3 is for 9 months, and then quarter 4 is the year-to-date, the full year. So yes, those numbers do not total all the way across. We would have really that'd be great for revenues, but we are at 114%, for example, for the year in general fund.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that, for folks that don't typically have to look at these kind of numbers, that we just made it clear that like this is kind of like stacking. It's not like we used 44% of what was expected in quarter 2. It was just that by those 6 months we had used 44% as an example. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, if not, I'm sorry? No? Okay, I thought I heard something. Sorry, that's the fun part about doing this virtually. So I'll go ahead and make the motion that the board accept the FY 2024 preliminary year-end financial report as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the matter? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and motion passes unanimously by all those present. Thank you very much. Okay, so that moves us on to item 8, informational reports, service change briefing for September 2024. General Manager.
Thanks. I'll ask Service Planning Manager French to please come forward and present the report.
Thank you, President Hinojosa Pressy, for having me here and the rest of the board. I'm presenting on the service change for September. It's a fairly minor service change for September. It starts September 1st and goes through January 4th. The changes that will take place on September 1st, the Route 6, we've made some slight adjustments to stop names on 25th. To match better our standards. They were addresses before, and now we've changed them to cross streets. And we've also done this because we've been working with the Salem Airport and Travel Salem to try to work out how to get better access to the airport, and that's going to be done mostly at this point through signage and sidewalk connections that they're working on. This was spurred on by an operator at the Talk with the Planner weeks or days that we had. They brought up an issue. It was a time point at 22nd where the time point was previously, which had cars turning in front of them, and so we moved the time point back to eliminate that problem. On the Route 12 Hayesville Drive, that was a major county construction project where we worked with them to improve stops along that street, and so that road construction project is complete, so we're placing those stops back in service, and a few have been added or moved to provide better access to the neighborhoods. The Route 22, we have done a route modification to that, and we're running on detour right now, but in September it'll become permanent, following a route similar to what the Route 6 does currently on its outbound trip. So that was done. As well, for the Route 22, with talking with operators at the Talk with the Planner event, they made a suggestion to better connect the last trips of the evening. So we made some adjustments to time points in order to make that connection so people going between the 22 can catch the 11. For the regional service, we've added back a couple stops on the 50X, which provides access to the Aquatic Center in Dallas, but also provides access. There's a large neighborhoods, and it's a long ways from those neighborhoods to the current stops. And so we've added those back in, working with the City of Dallas for approval on that. Holiday service, Labor Day and Veterans Day will both be Sunday level service. And Cherriots does not operate on Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, and New Year's Day, which are all part of this service change. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Yes, Director Lara Midkiff.
Thank you, President Hinojos Presi. Thank you for your presentation. Good to see you, Manager French. Could you tell us if there's been any feedback to the changes to the Kubler link in particular, given how that was quite an engagement project for us?
Yeah, we've had some interaction. That's mostly going through the customer service office. So I really will get that information to you, but I don't have that right at my fingertips. Sorry.
Have we heard anything via customer service?
Today, we have not had any feedback further since we made the changes. Oh. Other than good feedback, I should say, sorry. We have had some positive feedback from the participants who came to the meeting, the open house, and they're very pleased that we took the action that we did.
Thank you. And just thank you again for the effort that was, and the care that was put into that process. I appreciate it very much.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Simple and easy, been 30 minutes. All right, so that brings us into our general manager's report.
Thank you. I do have a few items to report. First, for those that may not have had a chance to introduce themselves, our new CAC member, Brian Casey, is sitting in the back. We'll wave hello. Happy to have him on the team. Look forward to working with him. Okay, you do have your board information sheet from communications that talks about some upcoming events and activities, so please review that. And we'll have that sent out electronically for those that were not able to be here in person to get a hard copy. First, I'd like to recognize and offer my condolences to the family of Peter Courtney, who you all know passed away a few weeks ago. And the reason I bring that up, Peter was one of the instrumental leaders in Salem for the establishment of the Salem Area Mass Transit District. If you didn't know, back in the late 80s, late 70s, he was on Salem City Council, and he was part of the transition team that moved Cherriots from a department of the city to its own standalone agency. And it was one on, it wasn't technically the board, but it was the enabling board that got things started. So he had his fingerprints throughout Cherriots through the years, and most recently, the establishment of governor-appointed board was through his leadership. Invitations went out today for the ribbon cutting ceremony for our electric buses on August 14th, so you'll see those in your email inboxes. I'm looking forward to a great and festive event on that day. Del Webb is under construction. We have 4 lifts that are being replaced. The lifts are what lift the bus up so people can work underneath them. Right now, there's 4 big holes in the ground, so it's kind of messy and disruptive over there. The old lifts have been removed, and they're preparing to install the new lifts. It's a little tight because there's 4 bus bays unable to be used, but maintenance is making it work. Some good news. So June 30th was the end of fiscal year '24, and we saw a 16.87% ridership increase fiscal year '23 over '24, with just over 3.2 million rides in fiscal year '24. You know, we measure our ridership 2 ways: calendar year, especially for the federal agencies, and then we also measure fiscal year. So sometimes you hear contradicting numbers, but this is the fiscal year, almost 17% increase. So that is great to see. And I sent out an email earlier this week. The newest Heritage in History and Transit bus is out on the road. It's out on Route 19 today. It just left about 8 minutes ago, so it probably won't be back in time to see, but you can see a picture right here up on the screen. So it looks really great, so please look for it out on the street. So this is the 3rd bus in our program. We started last year with the Pride Month bus. In February, we wrapped the bus recognizing Black History Month. And in September, we'll have another wrap recognizing, acknowledging Hispanic Heritage Month. So pretty exciting times. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad to see that bus out and about. And I also appreciate every single person that helped make sure that happened. So thank you to everyone that was involved. Okay, so this is going to bring us into our Board of Directors report. I'm gonna get started with Director Holmstrom because I mistakenly started the meeting off with saying that Director Holmstrom was not going to be available, so I apologize. Director Holmstrom, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm feeling under the weather today. I don't have a report. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. I hope that you get some rest. Nothing's more important than your health. All right, Director Duncan?
Sure. I'm going to piggyback on talking about the Immigrant Heritage Month bus here for just a second. And I want to highlight this is the first bus that I believe we've put out that had submitted artwork. This particular artwork was submitted by an employee, so thank you. And thank you to everyone who submitted. It's been quite a learning process, I think, for all of us, figuring out how to involve the community and make sure that everyone's kind of involved in creating these buses. We want to make sure that, you know, those of us sitting in the DEI room are not the only ones that are, you know, making these decisions. So this was our first one. And then we recently were able to review artwork that was submitted for our upcoming bus, which is our Hispanic or Latina Heritage Month bus. It was the most submissions we've received. And it was the first time we asked those submitting to particularly like follow the rubric of the bus. So like basically we were asking them to create artwork specifically for a bus wrap. And so I just want to thank everybody who took the time to do that. And even those of you, we also had a lot of submissions of people who are just like, hey, here's my art. And it was wonderful and really inspiring and made us feel a lot of good things in that room. So I want to thank everybody who submitted, and for anyone who's thinking of submitting in the future, I think we'll probably go forward with a version like this in the future. So we provide a template that allows you to kind of put your artwork onto the bus so you can see what it is we're looking for. We had 2 particularly like submissions that we were really looking at that were designed for the bus in general. That was part of our decision making. So if you are looking to submit in the future, that definitely helps if you already put your artwork on the bus. And it was a delightfully difficult decision. We have a lot of really talented people in the community. I'm not going to ruin everything. You'll see it when it comes out. But it was a delightfully difficult decision. So thank you to everyone who's submitted and who will be submitting in the future. Also, the DEI committee, we reviewed our progress in planning Tri-Transit Week. The board will be getting a full briefing at the work session next month, and I will give you the little peekaboo of you will need to be involving some of the other community members that are in your circle. So be thinking about other important people, other electeds that you might want to try transit with, and we will explain how that works at the next work session. So just, keep that in mind. Oh, that was everything from DEI. SCATs, we had a lighter agenda, which was nice. We talked a little bit about projects expected to request additional funding. It's 2024. Everything costs more than it used to cost. And so we've talked about prioritizing completing projects. What good is it throwing money at a project if you don't finish it? And then we also talked about how to more proactively handle the fact that costs are not what we originally think that they're going to be, instead of just kind of constantly upping how much we're allotting projects, trying to create a little bit more of an organized system for that now that it is pretty much a regular thing rather than an every now and then. So that was a bit of our conversation. We also talked about the congestion management process. We specifically got our corridor reports back. I think there's some holes in that data. I think that we can really improve the way that we look at congestion management. What we have right now is very focused on single passenger vehicles. They do take transit into account, but I am unclear as how that factors into the score, although they were more clear about how the single passenger vehicle factors into that score. So I'd like to see that expanded to more of a multimodal process. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to give some feedback in that. But overall, we did notice that there is a downtrend in congestion, and we talked about that being in large part because of people working remotely. I know that there are other cities like Washington, I know there's some programs that you can do that basically incentivize employers to have work from home employees because of the benefits to our system. And I would love to see Oregon take something like that on. I know I don't have control over that here, but I have a platform, so I'm using it. So so I'd love it if the city council or the legislature could get on that. Thank you. And then I think that was about it as far, we just went over some amendments. And MWACT was canceled, so I don't have a report for you there yet. I hope everyone had a great month, and I will pass it on.
Can I make a comment from the floor?
I didn't hear whatever was
Oh,
just
sorry.
said.
We have someone asking to make a comment from the floor.
Is it like public comment?
It's regarding the RAP bus that was just released.
Oh, from our citizen advisory member, community advisory member. Thank you.
Oh, well,
It can wait.
okay, thank you.
I will
think
touch
we'll-
base with you after the meeting. How about that?
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Director Duncan, for helping me manage that. And we'll continue with our Board of Directors report, and I waited for Director Laura Midkiff to take a drink. So that way, now it's your turn.
How generous of you. Thank you, President Hinojos Presi. The WSNA didn't meet this month, and I didn't get a report or anything from WSBA, so none of my formal commitments met, so there's no reports there. But let's take more time up, because this meeting is going way too quickly. I think I wanted to thank Alan for mentioning Peter Courtney. I met Senator Courtney several times, that didn't have a personal relationship with him. And I think his passing, and therefore his life, is one of a couple of examples in the last few weeks of what a life of service means, and what humility in the face of scrutiny and kind of public scrutiny especially looks like. And I won't elaborate too much or belabor the point, but I think it's a reminder to us all to look at each other and look at ourselves, and to do better in service of our communities. And that includes obviously the folks of us here on the dais, but also career folks who dedicate their life to really transforming our communities. And so a big thank you to Peter Courtney, and condolences to his family, and may we live up to his example. So thank you, Alan, for bringing that into the space.
Thank you, Director Laura Midkiff. Director Carney?
Thank you, President Hinojos Pressy. Let's see, way back on July 11th, I did attend the Salem Chamber of Commerce Business Advocacy Meeting where I think it was representatives from, I'd have to go back to my notes. Oops, sorry, wrong notes. They reviewed the climate protection plan, I think. So the DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality, passed some rules related to greenhouse gas emissions reduction. The DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality, had conducted this rulemaking, establishing these new laws in response to Governor Brown's Executive Order 2004. So that's 2020. And the first time it got taken to court and DEQ said, you got us on, I think it was a procedural process, and they said, we're not going to try to fix it, we're just going to do it over. And that's what they are in the process of doing now. So there's a second rulemaking process that is, I think, about to conclude. Do I have that right, Alan? Alan was sitting right next to me at the meeting. And there's concern from the business community, especially about how they will reduce their use of different fossil fuel types to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And I felt very happy as a member of the transit board, all the attention and direction we have been taking in greening our fleet and sort of reducing that, because the concern from the business community is that it will increase the cost of doing business, and then that will have to pass on to the consumer. So that was a very informative meeting with some very strong coffee. There was some really strong coffee at that meeting. And then the Metropolitan Transportation Safety Action Plan. Comments were submitted from the steering committee on the 22nd of July, so Monday, on version 2. Version 3 will have an online open house between August 4th or 5th. And then the steering committee is meeting with a consultant over Zoom on September 4th or 5th. And then the SCATS Policy Committee will review the Metropolitan Transportation Safety Action Plan on the 24th. I'm very hopeful. I wish it could go further, but it is a regional plan that involves all of our partners within the MPO, and so there are some limitations on people's feelings of comfort around how much we should do for safety. But some good guidance, I think, coming out of that plan, and I will go into more detail in the future, and I'm sure you're looking forward to that. And then I have to say a thank you to Director Duncan for serving as my alternate and attending the SCATS meeting that took place earlier this week on the 23rd. And then I think it's next week on August 1st, the Grant Neighborhood Association meeting is departing from its normal location so that we can all go tour the new affordable housing apartments at the former site of Evergreen Church on D. There's a name for that development and I can't remember what it was, but that has been a project that has been long in process from the neighborhood association and getting the permits to build and then moving forward with the construction. I ride my bike by it every day on my way to work, so I'm pretty excited to go inside. And then finally, just super relieved and happy to see Punks in the Park coming back. And thank you to Cherriots for being a sponsor. That was such an uplifting, I'm not like a huge punk music fan, but I'm a huge fan of that event. It was so inclusive. It was so uplifting. If you didn't go last year or any of the previous times that they have done it, I really encourage you to stop by and check it out and attend. And visit the Cherriots booth. because it's really just a fantastic community event. And that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Navarro?
Thank you, President Hinojos Presi. So the State Transportation Improvement Fund Advisory Committee did not meet this month. We did not get to meet with Mayor Clark and the rest of the representatives in Kaiser for Coffee with Kathy this last week. There were some scheduling conflicts, so that's going to happen tomorrow. So I don't have a whole lot to report there. But I just want to emphasize that we are going to be doing the ribbon cutting on the the battery electric buses at the Kaiser Transit Center. So I'm really excited about that and us inviting Senator Merkley and his team out there. Let's see, what else did I have? We had, the Kaiser Fest is coming up on the 11th, August 11th. And to the point that Director Carney just mentioned right now about Cherriots getting out there and supporting other events into the community. I saw Cherriots out there at the Kennedy Neighborhood Council meeting. They had a family event that was out there that was pretty awesome. It was actually well attended, and which was really interesting for Kaiser and how fast they put it together. How supportive they were of including other partners. They had a passport system so people could walk around and you'd have to, interact with those booths to get that stamp. And then we stayed close to the very end, and I got to take my kids, and so they won some prizes out there. So that was really cool to attend. And so, yes, Team Cherriots showing up. And with that, that concludes, that doesn't conclude my report. I got one more. AstroTurf at Kaiser Rapids. So the construction on that is almost done. I did not get an opportunity to ask Mayor Clark about where we are in the process of including space for a bus to be able to get in there and make the turnaround so that patrons at the park have access to public transportation, but I hope to do that tomorrow, and we're moving right along. So here's to having a bus that goes out to Kaiser Rapids. And with that, that concludes my report.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, I don't have any very transit related things to report. I think the only thing that I do want to uplift is that a local creamery, Don Froilan's on Portland Road, won 3 awards in the American Cheese Society's 2024 competition. So if you didn't know, the best string cheese in America is in Salem, and it's on Portland Road. So y'all should check that out. Yeah, and it's especially notable, I think, because it's all like Oaxacan style cheeses. All right, well, it is 6:23 and we are adjourned. Thank you very much.